right. Starting today in reading, we are going to be looking at the story, The Harvest Birds, looking at the contents section in your book. What does it say the genre of The Harvest Birds is? Do you remember where we find the genre looking at the contents page? It's right after the title of the story. So find where it says The Harvest Birds in that purple print. Do you see the word right after The Harvest Birds? What's the genre, everybody?
Folk tale.
A folk tale. What do you know about a folk tale?
That you wrote it about yourself.
No, it's not about yourself. What do you think you might know?
That it's true.
It's true? You think it could happen? What do you think?
It's from a while ago,
It's from a long while ago.
but it's fiction.
What do you think?
In your life, but not to you.
Okay, what are you thinking?
That you're writing it about something that didn't happen, but you wrote about it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and turn to where the story starts. What page does this story begin on?
259.
Okay, let's turn there. I guess I should turn there too. Hard to know what I'm talking about if I don't have the book. All right, so The Harvest Birds. Looking at page 258, over on that left-hand side of 258, it tells us what the target vocabulary is, the target skill that we're going to be working on, the strategy that we'll be using, and then the genre. Look specifically at the genre right now. That's the one in green at the bottom. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, it says a traditional tale, which means it's a folk tale, is a story that people have told for many years. So did it start out by being written down? No, what did people just do? They would tell it and then retell it and retell it. Okay, so it's been told for many years. Why does the author say she wrote this story, The Harvest Birds? We're going to find that out. But before we find that out, let's talk about those vocabulary words that it shows us there on page 200.
Students, it's time to have a little bit of fun. So, it's 10 o'clock. I want you to be the 10th caller at 10 o'clock, and the 10th caller is going to win a subway card. So, teachers, get out your cell phones. You want to dial 247-2176. You want to be the 10th caller.
You think I can be the 10th caller?
Yeah. You should wait a little bit.
That announcement kind of startled me.
Good morning, Morrill Elementary School. Who am I talking to?
This is Whitney.
Whitney, you are caller number 2. Try again.
Okay,
Oh.
2. So how many more do I need to be?
8.
8 to get to 10, right?
You can wait a little bit.
Yeah. I figured there would have been more people calling in before me.
You're the second. Go. Now. Go. Go.
Try it again?
Yeah. Yeah. Cross your fingers. Double.
I didn't hit dial.
Well,
Oh, it's busy.
try again.
It's busy. It's busy.
She's probably in the same call.
It's still busy.
No. Only she gets Subway. With Mom.
Still busy.
We all of us get Try it 5 seconds, one.
Maybe I could use it to, if I get it, I could get you cookies. I don't think I'm gonna make it through this time. It's still busy.
Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10.
Still busy.
No, but it's
I bet that somebody already beat us to it. Maybe next time. Okay,
Call it.
so back to reading. Oh, forgot to hang that up. Okay, back to reading. Looking at those vocabulary words, we have the word harvest. Have you ever heard that word before?
Yeah.
What does it mean to harvest?
To like gather stuff.
Yeah, I like how you use the word gather, to gather things. Like, what would you gather? I'm gonna go harvest some pencils.
Okay, attention staff, we have a winner. Mrs. Haig, you are the winner.
Oh, yay, Mrs. Haig.
Parker, nice try, but you can't use my cell phone. You have to call the office.
All right, so I'm gonna go gather me up some pencils.
No.
I'm gonna go, or sorry, harvest me some pencils.
No.
I'm gonna harvest some shoes.
No.
That doesn't make sense. So what kind of things would you harvest? Would you gather up?
Like
Wheat, she said. Paint.
no.
No. What else?
Corn.
Corn. Water bottles.
No.
No.
Hay.
Hay. Yeah, different types of food that you grow, right? Would you go harvest hot dogs though?
No.
Or pizza?
No.
No. Would you harvest sugar beets?
Yeah.
Or carrots?
Yeah.
Or potatoes? Or pumpkins?
Yeah.
Yes. Things that like a farmer or a gardener would raise, right? Okay. So harvest is one of those words. What does it mean to separate? Because that's another vocabulary word. Put your hands together. Show me how you would separate them. So what does separate mean? To put together?
Take apart. Take apart.
Like to take apart? What else could separate mean?
Like take it away from the other.
Take something away from other things. All right. Reese.
Undo. If it's stuck together, then.
Oh, okay. So like to undo it, to separate it that way? Yes.
Keep them apart.
You're gonna have to talk louder.
Take them apart.
Yep, that's just what Reese said. All right. How about the word ashamed? Have you ever felt ashamed? If you feel ashamed, what does that mean?
It means like you might feel sad because you might forgot to do something.
Okay, so it could be kind of a sad feeling.
Maybe like you're mad at yourself for doing something on purpose.
Okay, were you kind of thinking along those lines too? What are you thinking?
That you like kind of mad at yourself that you did something you know you're not supposed to do.
Okay, so So let's think about that because there might be a little more that we could add to that meaning. Borders. Have you ever heard that word?
Can you take a trip on something?
No.
A fence.
Could be a fence. She's already looking at the ideas in the book, so she's kind of cheating. What about advice? Have you ever given someone advice?
Yeah.
What does that mean then?
To like say something.
If you give someone advice, what do you do?
Like if somebody is trying to do something that they only have one question for, you could give them some advice on how to solve their problem.
Okay, so advice could mean you just said give them advice to help them solve their problem. So are you telling them something?
Yeah.
Okay, giving them an idea. What about the word borrow? You should all be familiar with that word because we've all done that. If you borrow, what do you do?
Someone gives it to you and you gotta use it for a little bit.
Okay, someone gives you something, you use it for a little bit. Do you keep it?
No.
What do you do?
You give it back.
All right. The next word is patch.
Like if your jeans have a hole in them, you could patch the hole.
Okay. Patch a hole, like to cover it on your jeans. She's an idea thief.
I was gonna say like the pumpkin patch.
Oh, the pumpkin patch. So if it's a pumpkin patch, what does patch mean?
There's a group lot.
There's a big group of, in her,
Pumpkins.
yeah, the way she described it would be a group of pumpkins. The next word is serious. Show me a serious face.
I can't.
So serious, what do you think it means though? You just showed me a serious face, but what might serious mean?
Like you're not lying to them.
Okay, not lying, so you would be telling them the truth. You might be a little bit if you're in a serious mood.
Like you're keeping a straight face. You're not like giggling while trying to tell something to somebody.
Okay, so you're not giggling, you're like not joking.
Like you're not messing around. You're like serious.
Okay.
Like if someone did something, you would tell someone that's close to them, not giggling or doing anything, but you would tell them, hoping they would believe you.
Okay. All right, so we are going to go ahead and listen to the harvest birds. Before we do that though, there's our art project. Before we do that, let's read about the author and the illustrator. Okay, the author is Blanca Lopez de Mariscal. Blanca Lopez de Mariscal teaches at a university in,
Mexico.
is that part of the United States?
No.
No, that's the country down south of us. She writes and gives speeches about Mexican art, history, and literature. The Harvest Birds is her first children's book. She says she wrote this story because it was important to her to introduce children to Mexican storytelling. So remember over here in the genre part, it asked us, why did she write The Harvest Birds? What did she say her reason for doing that was? It was important for what?
To introduce children to Mexico storytelling.
To introduce them to Mexican storytelling, which is folk tales. It's a story, the same story being told from, like a mom, or from like a grandma to your mom to you. All right. Okay, let's read about the illustrator, Linda Kane. Linda Kane lives in the country. She has 2 dogs, a horse, a cat, and 2 peacocks. Linda Kane loves outdoor activities such as hiking, skiing, and horseback riding. She has traveled to many places in the United States and all over the world. Okay, we are going to listen to and follow along with the harvest birds. I think that should be loud enough. The essential question is, how can readers figure out the message in a story? Folktales always teach like a lesson. There's a moral to every folk story that is told. So let's be thinking as we're listening to the story, what the lesson is that's trying to be given in this story.
The Harvest Birds by Blanca Lopez de
Make
Mariscal.
sure you follow along,
Illustrated
friends.
by Linda Kane. Essential question. What do traditional tales tell readers about life? In a little town where everyone knew everyone, there lived a young man called Juan Zanate. He was given this name because he was always seen with 1 or 2 Zanate birds. Juan used to sit under his favorite tree, dreaming and planning his life. He had wanted to have his own land, as his father and grandfather had. However, when his father died and the land was divided, there was enough for only his 2 older brothers. Because of this, Juan had to go to work in the shops of the town. If only I had my own land, my life would be different, Juan thought. He went to see Don Tobias, the richest man in town, and asked to borrow a little piece of his land. Analyze the text. Conclusions. Why do you think Juan's brothers got to keep their father's land and Juan didn't? Do you think this is fair? Use text evidence to explain your answer. Don Tobias burst out laughing, and his wife laughed with him. Why should I let you use my land? He asked. You don't know anything about making things grow. Sad and ashamed, Juan returned to sit under his tree. It was the only place where he felt really happy. In its huge branches lived a flock of Zanate birds, who were so used to him that they thought of him as their friend. There was one bird who cared very much for Juan and wanted him to find his way in life. This bird was always around Juan, resting on his shoulder or riding on his hat. Juan named him Grajo, or Crow, because Zanates have black feathers. After sitting and thinking for a long time, Juan decided to visit the oldest man of the town. Old people know many things because they've lived longer, Juan thought. He'll give me some advice, and maybe he'll even help me. Juan greeted the old man, whom everyone called Grandpa Chon, with respect. The old man seemed to be in a good mood, so Juan dared to ask him for a piece of land. Let me prove to you that I can be a good farmer and make things grow, he begged. Grandpa John became serious. I will help you, he said. I will let you use some land. If you fail, however, you must work for me for free for as many days as you have used my land. Juan ran into the town, shouting the good news. Instead of being happy for him, though, people laughed at him. Better you should straighten up at my shop. Where you plant, not even weeds will grow, shouted the carpenter. Don't waste your time, Juan. Come and work on this wheel, called the blacksmith. Help me with these sacks of flour and stop dreaming, added the baker. Juan decided that nothing anyone said would stop him. It's time to get to work, he told himself. He began to prepare his land for planting. It was a very tiny patch of land and didn't offer much promise of a big harvest. Still, Juan kept working, watched over by his good friends, the Zanates. My head is small like my garden patch, but it is big enough to hold many dreams, thought Juan. He needed seeds to plant, but didn't have money to buy them, so he went to the shop and asked for some. Juan, sweep up the corn, bean, and squash seeds from my floor and take them to my pigs, the shop owner said. Then, if you wish, you can take some seeds for yourself. Juan was happy because now he had seeds to plant. He didn't scare away the Zanates the way the other farmers did. Instead, he gave them some of his leftover seeds to eat so they wouldn't be hungry. After all, the Zanates were his friends, and he cared for them very much. Grajo was always with him, giving him advice as he worked. Days passed, and the tiny plants began to appear. Little shoots of weeds came up along with them. The Zanates told Juan not to throw the weeds away as the other farmers did. Plant them on the borders of your land, said the birds. When the other farmers heard what Juan was doing, they laughed at him. Imagine keeping weeds in your field. At harvest time, everyone was waiting to make fun of Juan once again. They were sure he would fail. When Juan arrived in town, everyone was amazed. He brought a wonderful harvest, huge ears of corn, brightly colored squashes, and tasty-looking beans. How did you do it? They all wanted to know. Juan smiled and answered, I did it with the help of my friends, the Zanates, the harvest birds. I learned to listen to the voice of nature. Work for me, Juan, everyone shouted. Teach me your secrets. No, answered the old man. Juan works for no one now, because I am going to give him the land that he harvested. Analyze the text. Literal
Okay.
and non-literal
Stop
meaning.
that. Okay, so
Miss Logan, there's still a back.
what's that?
There's still a page.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was the end. My apologies.
Does the
It's
author
just doing
use
the
words that
questions.
make nature seem like a person? What do these words really mean? After selling the crop at an excellent price, Juan Zanate and Grandpa Chon returned to the little patch of land that was now Juan's. The old man asked Juan to tell him his secret. The Zanates taught me that all plants are like brothers and sisters, replied Juan. If you separate them, they become sad and won't grow. If you respect them and leave them together, they will grow happily and be content.
There.
Okay, now it's done. So, what lesson is that folktale teaching the reader? What do you think the lesson might be through all of that story? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking like they
I'll come back to you. What are you thinking?
don't ever let somebody like tell you something and then you give up because
Okay.
they're right, but they're probably not.
So don't let people tell you things that make you want to give up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, trust nature and listen to nature.
Okay, trust nature, listen to nature.
It's that no matter how bad you want to give up or how like much people make fun of you because they think that you can't do it, you should never give up.
Okay, so no matter what, never give up.
Yeah.
Change your mind. Okay. All right. So basically, the lesson that this is teaching is to do your thing the way that you want to do it and don't give up. Because did Juan just quit even when people thought he was kind of crazy for what he was doing?
No.
Did he quit? Or did he keep doing his own thing and keep going on? Who gave Juan the name Juan Zanate? Who gave him that name? How did he get that name? It was back at the beginning of the story. See if you can find it. Find the text evidence for who gave Juan the name Juan Zanate. Grab my book here. Did Juan give it to himself?
No.
No. Who gave that name to him? Did you find it in the book?
Mm-hmm.
Did his wife?
No.
His dog?
No.
Who gave him the name?
The boys that he like that he was friends with, that they were friends with, and then
Okay, let's look at what page are you on? I'm on 260, is that what you're on?
Yeah.
Says, in a little town where everyone knew everyone, there lived a young man called Juan Zanate. He was given this name because he was always seen with one or two Zanate birds. So who gave him that name? Did the birds?
No.
So who was it? What do you think?
Like the people, not him, but like the people in the town that kind of made fun of him.
How did you come up with that? She just drew a conclusion, or she made an inference, some people might call it, which is what we're going to be working on this week. How did you decide that it was the people of the town?
Because in this story, like, they kind of make fun of him a lot, and in the text it says that, like, he wouldn't just give himself that name.
Okay, look back at that first sentence at the top of 260. In a little town where everyone knew everyone, there lived a young man called Juan Zanate. He was given this name because he was always seen with one or two Zanate birds. So it says, in a little town. So does that make us think of all the people in the town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. We had to use information that it was probably the people there, because it didn't say the people in the town gave him the name Juan Zanate, did it?
But it's called.
Yes. All right. What happened to Juan? I gotta think of how I want to word this. He'd always wanted to have his own land, right? That was kind of his dream in a way. But what happened? Why wasn't he right away given his own land?
He got to do work to keep.
But before that, what happened where he didn't get the land that he was hoping to get?
When his father died, he wanted the land, but instead his older brothers got it, so he had to go work.
Right. When his dad died, when his father died, did he get any of that land? No. Only his brothers did, right? So as a result of that, what did Juan do? He didn't get that land that was once his father's. So what did he do? Raylan? Where did he go? Who did he go see? The richest person in town. And who was the richest person in his town? What was his name? Find it in the book. Text evidence. The richest person in town, the richest man in town. I don't remember what the book said exactly. But what was his name? Did you find it? Don Tobias. Okay. So he went to see him. Why? Just to have coffee with him? No. Think about why he went to see Don Tobias. What events led up to that happening? Well, he didn't get land from his father. He had no land of his own now. So he went to Don Tobias to do what?
To go ask if he could use a little bit of his land.
Oh, he wanted to use some of his land. Did he want to keep it forever? No, he just asked him if he could borrow it. Okay. So then, what did Don Tobias do or say to Juan Zanate? Was he like, sure, no problem, here you go? No, definitely not. What did he do or say at the next point in the story? Jenny?
He burst out laughing. Why should I have to give you some of my land?
Exactly. How do you think that made Juan feel? Did he feel good about himself? Like standing tall and like, oh, this is great. How would that make you feel? Do you think you'd feel the same way that Juan did?
Yeah.
Think about how Juan was probably feeling. It gave us a word that told us how he was, gave us two words that said how he was feeling.
Oh, sad and ashamed.
Sad and ashamed. If you're ashamed and you're sad, how else might he have been feeling? What other words would have described how he felt?
Maybe a little bit mad.
Maybe a little bit mad. I'll come back to you, okay?
A little bit nervous that he asked the richest person in town and that he laughed like that.
Okay,
Like how it was.
okay. Did you think of yours? No. I'm thinking maybe he was a little embarrassed too, possibly. Okay, all right, so, my thinking is that before Don Tobias laughed at him, I think maybe Juan was feeling excited or maybe hopeful, like crossing his fingers, hoping that he would help him out. So what we're gonna do is we'll talk more about this tomorrow, and we're gonna be working on drawing conclusions or making inferences, which is when we use information that the author gives us with things that we already know. It's kind of like that example that I had shared with you earlier in the year, where you walk into the house and somebody's on the phone and they're saying, extra cheese. Oh yes, large. Hand tossed. Extra pepperonis and anchovies. And pineapple. Sounds awful, but could you make that inference or draw the conclusion about what the person on the phone is doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Ordering pizza.
Okay, so you used information that I was sharing with you, plus information that you already have stored in your brain, and put it together to draw that conclusion or make that inference. So that's what we're going to be working on the rest of this week and the first part of next week. Yes. Okay, that's all right. Okay, friends, you may put your journeys book away for today.